Hi, welcome to Tracklution Academy. My name is Emma, and today I will be teaching you how to connect Tracklution to different ad and analytics platforms. So basically, what are data destinations of Tracklution and how to connect them. This is a hands-on tutorial, and you get the most out of it if you have already created a Tracklution account and have installed tracking to your website. If you have not done that yet, please watch the previous video in this academic content and learn first the data sources of Tracklution. This video is divided into 4 parts. First, how to connect ad platforms. Second, how to connect analytics platforms, so GA4 in this video. And then how to validate your setup and how Tracklution handles attribution. And most importantly, we have a last part which is called before you panic part, where we go through some common confusions and stuff that can be confusing at first. Alright, let's begin. Part 1. How to connect ad platforms. All ad platforms have slightly different processes for how to connect them to Tracklution, but those can be roughly divided into 2 types of processes. First, we will go through the process 1, which is similar with Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, and Pinterest. Then we will go through the process with Google Ads, which has similar process with LinkedIn and Microsoft Ads. Let's start with the first one. To connect Meta, add the Meta Pixel ID and Conversion API access token in Tracklution by clicking Add on the Meta connector card. The process is very similar to TikTok, Snapchat, and Pinterest. If you don't know where to get the Pixel ID or the access token, look for the up-to-date detailed instructions from our docs for each connector separately. When the Pixel ID and access token are set and the connector is set to be live, all events will be delivered to Meta. As an exception to this are custom events, which need to be first reviewed and accepted in Meta Events Manager. Events can be blocked or remapped if you don't want those to be delivered to Meta, or if you want to deliver them with a different name. You can do this in Tracklution settings. For example, if you want to send a purchase event to Meta as custom event 1, edit it here. If you don't want to send a specific event, just write block here and the event won't be sent to the ad platform. The same process goes for TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, and GA4. For Meta and other connectors, it can take up to 6 hours before conversions appear, so you have to wait a bit before you see anything there. Now, what to do with the old tracking? Pause or delete the old tracking and ensure Tracklution is the only source delivering data to avoid duplicate data. Tracklution handles both Pixel and CAPI. If you created a separate pixel for Tracklution in Meta, you can have both trackings on for a short period of time when you are validating the data from Tracklution. But it is not recommended to continue this for a long time. We recommend removing or pausing the old pixel in order to avoid duplicate data. Then, let's go through the second type of process by connecting Google Ads to Tracklution. Start by clicking Edit on the Google Ads connector card in Tracklution and connect your account. Do it by adding your Google Ads account ID and then granting permission. Once you have accepted the permission request that Tracklution sent, you can create conversion lists in Tracklution for the conversions you want to send to Google. Only conversion actions you have created on this page will be delivered to Google Ads. So basically this process is opposite of how we did it with Meta, where by default every single event is sent unless you block them. Then let's discuss about enhanced conversions. To enable enhanced conversions and make the most out of your Google Ads campaigns, ensure that Tracklution's contact info tag is correctly implemented on your site. If you're not quite sure how to do this, please watch the first part or the previous part of this video series first, where we go through how to implement tracking on your website. Enhanced conversions in Google Ads are basically Google's way of tracking conversions by matching user data, like email or phone number, from your site to logged in Google Ad accounts. Let me give you an example of a common scenario. First, Emma sees your YouTube ad on her phone while she's logged in to YouTube. She doesn't click the ad. Later, she visits your website on her laptop organically, navigates around and submits a form with her email and phone number. What happens in Tracklution at this time is that Tracklution contact info tag on your site captures Emma's first-party data, email and phone number, and then this information is hashed and sent securely to Google using Tracklution's Google Ads connector. Google then matches the hashed data to Emma's logged in Google account, which is used across her devices, so the phone and the laptop. Even though Emma did not click the ad on YouTube and used a different device, Google can still attribute the conversion to the YouTube ad that she saw earlier. Now, if you are collecting contact data and you want to turn on enhanced conversions, change the settings in your Google Ads account. First, go to Goals, then Conversions, Settings, and then turn on Enhanced Conversions for leads. Then choose Google Tag as the method. Then, on the same page, turn on Enhanced Conversions and select Google Ads API as a method. Once the conversions are being delivered, Tracklution generates two types of conversion lists for a single conversion action. First, Purchase Click Conversions. This is a conversion that has been delivered to Google Ads and the session has a Google Click ID. These conversions are delivered with CAPI. Google Ads only accepts conversions that have a Google Click ID to this list. For example, Emma sees an ad of your product, clicks it, ends up on your website and buys the product. She ends up on this list. Then, Purchase View-Through/Engagement Conversions. These are conversions that have been delivered to Google Ads, but the session does not have Google Click ID. These conversions include only enhanced conversions. As there is no Google Click ID, Google recognizes the conversion with enhanced data. For example, Emma sees an ad of your product on YouTube, but does not click the ad. 2 days later, Emma goes to your website organically and makes a purchase. And the Tracklution tag with contact info is fired on the website while she makes the purchase. Then this conversion ends up in the View Through list. This separation into two lists allows advertisers to have more transparency in attribution of their conversions between click conversions and view-through engagement conversions. Both of the conversion action lists should be set as primary. Typically, click conversions account for around 90 to 95% of total conversions, with the remaining 5 to 10% coming from view or engaged conversions. If you compare Tracklution to your old setup, you should sum these two list values together, as normally these lists are not separated, all the values are in one list. And that's how you connect any ad platform to Tracklution. I know we only went through Meta and Google Ads, but for other ad platforms, it is similar process. When activating LinkedIn or Microsoft Ads, the lists need to be created separately, same as in Google Ads. When activating Snapchat, Pinterest or TikTok, the events are automatically sent and mapped. Event mappings can be checked from the settings page, from where you can also block the delivery of certain events to specific ad platforms. Then we can move on to the second part of this video, how to connect analytics platforms. I will show you how to connect Google Analytics 4 to Tracklution. Start by going to the dashboard in Tracklution and click Edit on the GA4 connector card. We need Google Analytics 4 measurement ID and Google Analytics 4 API secret value in order to connect it to Tracklution. If you wish to do some A/B testing with Google Analytics 4 connector compared to your previous web tag-based setup, create a new property in GA4 and connect Tracklution to this new parallel property. I am now in GA4 and I have a brand new property here already created. To get the measurement ID, go to Property Settings, Data Collection, and then let's create a new stream and fetch the measurement ID. Then copy-paste it to Tracklution. After that, let's create the API secret value and paste it to Tracklution. On the same page in GA4, scroll down and click Measurement Protocol API Secrets. Create and then copy-paste it to Tracklution. That's how you connect GA4 to Tracklution. Tracklution will send all events that is tracking to GA4. Note that you must be tracking these events with Tracklution in order to send them to GA4. If you're ready to go live with the connector, just click on the live button and then save. Note that it can take up to 48 hours before you see any data in GA4. Something that is good to understand with GA4 is that GA4 is based on sessions, which means that if your conversion can't be matched to a session, it can't be delivered to GA4. For example, if you send offline conversions with a webhook, for example from your CRM to Tracklution, those webhook events need to be tied to a previous session in order for GA4 to accept the data. Once you have done your A/B testing and validated the Tracklution is tracking your website correctly, you can ditch the old pixel tracking. Google Analytics for Connector in Tracklution includes both pixel and API, which also allows Google Analytics for to deduplicate the events. Deduplication happens only if the data is delivered from Tracklution. One thing to note during the testing phase is that if you are comparing Tracklution to your old pixel setup, in Tracklution the session length is 1 day UTC time zone. Now we know how to connect Meta, Google Ads and GA4 to Tracklution. So we can continue to the part 3, which is validating your setup. Before checking anything on your ad platforms or analytics platforms, it's good to wait. Unfortunately, but that's something that you have to do. For Google Ads, for example, it takes 6 hours before a list is created, and for Google Analytics 4, it can take up to 48 hours before the data is fully processed. But once the time has passed, you can start validating the setup from Tracklution. From the dashboard, you can see what data is tracked and what is delivered. You can easily check this by clicking the connector card and then filtering with source and delivered. Scroll down to the process data table to see all sessions with that connector as a source, and also which sessions were delivered to that connector. You can dig into details of each session by clicking the little arrow. Then briefly about attribution. Our job at Tracklution is to deliver as much data as possible to the ad platform's algorithms to learn from. Then the ad platforms can do their own attribution. The source data that you see in Tracklution is currently attributed with last paid click basis. But the cells are still delivered to all ad platforms that accept the conversion. Then the ad platforms can make their own attribution within their own attribution windows and have as many signals as possible of converting clients. From here, you will also see if some data is not being delivered. Instead of success, you will see error. To understand the reason for the error, click View and find the reason for the error from the payload. The reasons for unsuccessful deliveries can be found from the payload easily. Most of these even have the word error written on them, so you can search with that. We have listed the most common errors and solutions to them in our documentation's troubleshooting page. And now we can get to the before you panic part. Understanding these will help you debug any issue you face with Tracklution. Firstly, if you don't see a conversion in Meta or Google Ads or any other ad platform and you think that it should be there, always first find the event from the dashboard in Tracklution in order to understand why it was not delivered. Was it because it was not tracked in the beginning, or It was tracked, but it was just not delivered. And what was the reason for that? Depending on the ad platform, you might have to wait some hours before you see anything delivered to your ad platform. Tracklution will re-deliver conversions that appear with errors in the data table due to the connection just being created. Then, let's go through some Google Ads specific common confusions. Google Ads accept only conversions that come from that specific ad account, so for example, no affiliate traffic. If you suspect the data might not be correct when comparing the amount of conversions from a specified date in Tracklution and then in Google Ads, note that Google Ads can mark the conversion for the day when the click came and Tracklution to the day when the purchase was made. Many confusions with Google Ads are related to the click conversions and view-through conversions being in separate lists. For example, if you see enhanced conversions has no recent data, it is irrelevant for click conversions, as this list is not supposed to get enhanced data. Another example is tag is not firing, which is also irrelevant and can be skipped if it appears on the click conversions list to where the conversions are coming from the CAPI, not the tag. Then, let's go through some meta-specific common confusions. If you see too much sales in Meta compared to Tracklution, first ensure that Tracklution is the only source of data for that specific pixel. Tracklution delivers conversions from the pixel and the CAPI, so the old pixel needs to be removed in order to avoid duplicate data. If you know that Tracklution is the only source that is delivering conversions there, then you might want to check the attribution rules. Meta often attributes a large number of view-through conversions to its campaigns, specifically when an ad is shown to a user shortly before they convert via other channel. Of course, this leads to a more philosophical question of how much real impact Meta's ad impression had on the conversion. The truth likely lies somewhere between Tracklution and Meta's reported numbers, but if this disparity is a concern and you'd like to adjust for it, I recommend reviewing Meta's attribution settings. In our experience, customers who have encountered over-attribution issues in Meta have found that switching to a one-day click attribution model result in more realistic results. If you suspect that something is off and you can't clearly see the issue in the Tracklution dashboard, you can also check with Inspector what tags are loaded and when. For example, check with the inspector when the tags are loaded, before or after a consent is given. Navigate to the Network tab in Inspector, open your site and write Tralut to see when the Tracklution tag is loaded. For example, previous pixel was implemented with Advanced Consent mode and Tracklution is implemented with Basic Consent mode. This means that the old pixel was loaded upon the first session start and Tracklution tag only when the consent is given. In this case, Tracklution is not comparable to the old setup. With Inspector, you can also check if there are multiple tags loaded and sending events to the ad platforms. For example, if you have Meta or Google Ads pixel tracking on your site while Tracklution is doing the same, it is causing duplicate data. And that's it! Now you can basically call yourself a pro Tracklution expert, as you know how you can track your website and other sources with Tracklution and how you can send the track data to ad and analytics platforms. Of course, this means that you have watched the previous videos too in this video series. If you have not, please watch them first, then come back to this video whenever needed. We will be also creating more resources for the Academy, so you will have more videos to watch. Thank you and see you in the next parts.